Why do so many coming-of-age stories feel so gay?
Really want? Screw you! Give me some skin.
I'm often struck at the liminality present in coming-of-age stories between the homosocial and homosexual/romantic. The genre seems particularly adept at pushing and blurring the boundaries between platonic and romantic. In order to analyze how and why this happens, I'm going to analyze the novels Ghost Wall by Sarah Moss, Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro, and the films Stand By Me, directed by Rob Reiner, and But I'm a Cheerleader, directed by Jamie Babbit. Romance and friendships are incredibly important subjects in the coming-of-age genre. Many of us can relate to having some of the most intense relationships, both platonic and romantic, of our lives as teenagers. These relationships in your life characterize the transition from child to adulthood. This idea is particularly heavily explored in Never Let Me Go, as Kathy recollects her friendships with Ruth and Tommy and how those friendships set her up for adult life. As the novel unfolds, it becomes quickly obvious that there is an attraction between Kathy and Tommy, though Kathy dances around acknowledging this until she divulges the relationship they did have as adults. Ruth is Kathy's best friend, and her and Tommy have a long relationship for much of their young life, so of course Kathy set aside her feelings for Tommy. I was sitting beside Cynthia E., then somehow we got onto the subject of boys, and she'd said, "And Tommy, I knew it wouldn't last with Ruth. Well, I suppose you're the natural successor." Anyway, that's what I was up to with a few other girls when Ruth came up to ask if we could talk. Ruth said, "I want me and Tommy to get back together again. Kathy, will you help?" In the novel, Kathy does not state that there is anything other than a platonic attraction between her and Ruth. However, she does spend significant amounts of the novel describing the intense devotion she has to Ruth. Why was I so hostile to Maura B. that day, when she was really a natural ally? But at other times, I think that's wrong. That it was just to do with me and Ruth and the sort of loyalty she inspired in me in those days. It is also worth noting that Kathy has both said that she found images of naked women stimulating, but that she is not queer. This information doesn't necessarily point to the fact that Kathy had a homosexual attraction to Ruth. However, it does demonstrate how that line was blurred. Much of Kathy's intensity towards Ruth could have been misconstrued as queer. Never Let Me Go is a novel whose narrative dances around revealing the drama at the core. The fact that all of these characters are actually clones created for the purpose of donating their organs to regular people. And the way Kathy coyly hides and reveals her complex feelings for her friends, both from the listener/reader and herself, mirrors that narrative technique. While Kathy is withholding, the characters in Stand By Me are both forthcoming and oblivious. These characters are at a time in their lives before they're forced to become hyper-aware of their sexuality. Whereas boys of 14 or 16 would be acutely aware of not crossing the line of homosexual or romantic, especially in the 1960s. These boys of only 12 are able to fully express themselves. They are able to scream, laugh, run, and even cry with each other.
Piss up a rope.
There is an intense sense of intimacy and safety between these boys that can only exist because of their position of prepubescence. Gordy, the protagonist, acknowledges this. It is worth exploring how the difference in stigma for homosexual men and women comes into play here. While men are so often acutely aware of being perceived as gay that they cannot allow themselves to form intimate homosocial bonds, women are typically allowed to have intimate friendships. Further, historically, homosexual women have been completely erased, to the point that sex between women was never actually criminalized in England. At the time it would have been illegal to be homosexual, because it was believed to be impossible. This dynamic hugely plays into the inciting incident in But I'm a Cheerleader, where our protagonist Megan doesn't actually realize she's a lesbian.
I myself was once a gay. Now I'm an ex-gay, Megan.
Due to the different ways the world around her discusses homosexual men and women, Megan has suppressed her attractions from herself. This common phenomenon is an aspect of compulsive heterosexuality, which asserts that heterosexuality is treated as a default by society. Compulsive heterosexuality affects queer people in many different ways, but it is often acknowledged in the sapphic community that comphet leads to many queer women either ignoring or being unaware of their own queerness. Similar to Kathy's feelings around Ruth being murky, Megan's feelings towards her friends were presumed by her to be platonic. It is only once she has her eyes open to the fact that heterosexual women don't necessarily think how she does that she is able to accept her sexuality and eventually form a meaningful connection with her love interest, Graham.
Have you ever had a boyfriend?
Yes. For 2 years, we've been going steady. Well, have you ever had sex with him? I'm a Christian. It's really easy to be a prude when you're not attracted to him, isn't it? I'm a homosexual! I'm a homosexual!
In this story, the liminality of the homosocial and homosexual is used to ignite the plot, but Megan must move through it in order to reach self-actualization. Not all characters in coming-of-age stories act or think queerly due to ignorance, however. In Ghostwall, teenage Sylvie is hyper-aware of the different feelings she has towards Molly, the only female student present for the university historic reenactment experience that Sylvie and her parents are also a part of. She is also aware of being observed by outsiders while taking an interest in Molly. Molly peeled a square slice of ham. She sucked salt from her index finger and then pushed a wisp of honey hair behind her ear. I looked up, saw Pete watching me watch her, and blushed, felt the sudden heat in my face like pee in pants. Sylvie is perhaps the most suppressed character in all these pieces, as she is actively being stifled by her abusive father. For Sylvie, maturing into adulthood is a forbidden right. Her father wants to keep her in a perpetual childhood, although without the freedoms of childhood that other protagonists like Gordy experience, and have her remain dependent on him so he can continue his abuse. Her attraction to Molly therefore bears significant narrative weight. Not only is Molly free, she's intelligent, confident, and self-possessed. Molly represents a kind of woman that Sylvie has neither been exposed to before, nor could have ever imagined herself as. Sylvie is both attracted to Molly as a person, but also as someone she wants to be like. This type of liminal desire is nearly unique to queer narratives, as it is both external and self-facing. Ghostwall is a book that is explicitly interested in liminality. It explores the blurred lines between past and present, alive and dead, love and hate, and of course, child and adult. Sylvie's queerness both makes her an outsider to the group and her family, but it is also a path towards her freedom. Ultimately, it is the bond she has with Molly that saves her. The difference between the homosocial and homosexual in coming-of-age stories is liminal both because it is in real life and because coming-of-age stories are liminal stories. Where we draw the line between platonic and romantic is up to each individual. Is holding hands something friends can do, or should that be left for partners? There's no clear answer for these things. Well, of course, many people do have clear lines around who they're attracted to, especially based on gender/sex, just as many people experience fluidity in that department. It is impossible for a story about the transition into maturity to avoid dabbling in liminal spaces, as there is nothing clear-cut about coming of age. It happens at different times, in different ways, for each protagonist and person. Exploring the blurred lines between the homosocial and the homosexual allows writers to capture the complexities of maturing. When the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is the only light we see, no, I won't be afraid, no, I won't be afraid, just as long as you stand by me. Oh, darling, darling, stand by me. Stand by me. Stand by me.